Hello, hello. Good morning, late morning. It is 11:03 local California time. It is a beautiful day. It seems a little bit chilly today, but actually you get out there and it is hot. Just got back from a nice sweaty workout with my personal trainer, Ruby, our dog. All right, so the holidays are coming. In America, it kind of feels like the holidays are here, right? We've already had our American Thanksgiving, and I don't know about you, but I am in like full holiday mode. I'm just getting excited about a little bit of travel, a little bit of a different change in pace. I need that variety in life to keep myself happy. But I'm also thinking about the new year and about specific goals. And I love spending this time of the year just kind of reviewing what has this past year looked like? What are the wins? What are the things that I'm a little disappointed in? I like to dive into those things and really just mess around in there. And the reason why I like to do that is because I like to then set just a nice framework for the next year, 2024, and decide like, what is it that I want to achieve next year? How do I want my life to feel like? And the life of our daughter, our little family, our extended family, the business, so many aspects of life. And when I review this life this year, it helps me decide what specifically I should be doing for next year and working towards. So stick around because we have an exciting announcement coming up very soon about something that's going to start up for next year. And it is all about eating for a better life because that's why we're here. We're here to talk about food. I'm talking a lot and starting off with these lessons because these lessons are the foundation to then want to actually eat the kind of food that is going to lead us to our healthiest states, our strongest states, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, psychologically. And all of that stuff will lead to a better life. Exactly how is that going to lead to a better life for you specifically? I don't know. That's for you to embark on that journey and find out. For me, it has changed everything. Everything. Not only do I think that we're able to procreate and have a baby because of the way that I changed, the way that I ate, the way that I understand food, the way that I have learned how to navigate our food environment, our world, learned how to travel, learned how to eat out, learned how to navigate myself at friends' houses, at happy hours, and all of the things. Learned how to be very graceful to myself, extending that grace, which I think so many people would benefit from. And perhaps that's an ongoing practice. But today, our topic is specifically on the McDougall Program's Maximum Weight Loss Program, and specifically the rules. So yesterday, I did a very quick summary of what the rules are that were found on page 10 of this book. And I'm telling you, if you could read anything over the holidays, if you're into nonfiction, then I would highly recommend this book, The McDougall Program for Maximum Weight Loss. This is the older version. They've updated the cover. It's a very pretty food photo, but I like the OG version with this guy on it, the young John McDougall. You can rent it from, you can borrow it from your local library. You can get a used copy on Amazon. I would gift myself either a used copy or a new copy so you can then go through, and there's all these exercises in here, but you could then go through and mark up the pages, tag the pages to what's relevant for you. Because as humans, we often forget, and we forget very quickly. So for you to go back to your own notes and what really jumped out at you, to just review them, it's such a great reminder, and it will help you stay on track. It'll help you stay motivated and inspired because there's so much inspiration in this man's words. I'm telling you. So one of the key lessons that this book has taught me is all about hunger. Now, today, the world is like obsessed with a drug called Ozempic, and so many people are on it. More people are going to be prescribed it, and it may become the next thing that doctors prescribe and prescribed for not just weight loss or suppression of hunger, but for a number of other things. Some studies have started to come out showing that there are some negative effects of taking Ozempic, especially long-term. Surprise, surprise, right? Like we haven't heard this before with a prescription drug, but I think it could be good or great for people to take within a short, very defined period of time, depending on your individual situation, of course. But for long-term usage, I mean, is this a strategy to help manage your health for the long term? It may work out for you, it may not. I take the position that the more natural we can do this and the more we can change and educate ourselves and adopt new and better habits, that's going to be much more empowering. And we don't have to worry about any negative side effects creeping up, like paralysis of our GI, which is bananas. So anyway, let's not get into that. But the interesting thing about Ozempic is that it includes something, a big part of its power is that it suppresses hunger. You no longer feel very hungry. And if we're not hungry, then we're not going to pig out or eat as much, right? And so that's one effective way to lose weight and manage your weight. But in this book, John McDougall talks about how hunger, in fact, the power of hunger, chapter 2, is all about how it is an innate power and quality that we possess in order to keep us alive. Yeah. So we want to suppress our hunger. We want to view it as a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's an innate power that we have to keep us alive. So when we feel hunger, when those hunger cues come on, our job is to satiate those hunger cues, not to remove them, but I guess remove them by satiating them, by eating and eating the right way. So I love this statement. What everyone who wants to lose weight must first realize is that the hunger drive was not meant to be ignored or suppressed. It was designed by nature to be powerful, sometimes overwhelmingly so, in order to keep you alive. Therefore, the longer you go without food, the stronger the hunger drive becomes. And there's, anytime you've been super hangry and gotten to that point where you feel shaky and you're not yourself, it's just not a good place to be. But your body is screaming at you saying, feed me, bee, feed me. So honoring that innate wisdom is a good thing. Your body is working with you. Our bodies are our friends. On page 16, he says, hunger triggers survival mechanisms, right? It avoids us from dying. When dieters stop dieting, they often overeat and regain more weight than they were carrying before they started. He explains in such a very clear way how that happens, and it's fascinating. Lowered metabolism means that dieters burn fewer calories both at rest and when they exercise. It really messes up with our metabolism if we're dieting too much. So, okay. Food offers choice. On page 21, he says that the problem is what we eat, not our desire to be satisfied from our hunger. And that is the mass confusion that exists online today is what do we eat? I was looking into the carnivore diet last night because of that topic coming up in one of these recent lives and looking at all the foods that are included. And it's really just all kinds of meat or dairy or eggs and a few other things. And then I read that some people who do the carnivore diet will also kind of almost like the extremists, it seems, will move towards the Lion's diet. There's all these diets. And the Lion's diet is exclusively cattle, like red meat. And I believe a little bit of salt, but nothing else. Nothing else. No plants, no spices, no herbs, just cattle. And that's very interesting because if you want to be strong like a lion and king of the jungle, then yeah, you should eat the way a lion does, right? Well, then I started looking at the natural diet of lions and they eat things like wildebeest and they don't eat cows. They don't eat cattle. I'm sure if it was there, then they would eat it, but that's not how they naturally eat. They often, in times of scarcity, they will also eat rodents. So, yeah, no thanks. Anyway, so food offers choice. Food is unique among our basic survival needs because, unlike our needs to breathe and drink, food offers us choices. And that's why it becomes so difficult sometimes to know how to eat, to maintain our optimal weights, because food is everywhere. We must eat. Most of us do it multiple times a day. And there's so many options. And those options, obviously, as humans, we are wired to look at food that is high in calorie density because we don't want to starve to death. We want something to be high fat because we want that extra fat to store in times of scarcity, right? Feast or famine. And we want things that are high pleasure. So obviously, if I'm staring at a donut versus a broccoli floret, I'm going to want to eat that donut first. Or maybe I'm only going to want to eat that donut. I'm not really a sweets person, though. Food choices require a combination of instinct, which is our hunger, and the higher faculties of human understanding. We must distinguish what is healthful from what is harmful. Now, that statement is interesting, and we have to think about like dosage. Dosage matters, right? The higher the dosage of eating those donuts, the more harmful those donuts become to me. So while, of course, we're going to be realistic and pragmatic and eat things like fill in the blank, like maybe donuts is your thing, we have to pay attention to the dosage. I also love how he says on page 22 that your hunger drive is designed correctly. So don't think that like, I'm always hungry. What's wrong with me? Something's wrong with me. I have some psychological issues. Your hunger drive is accurate and it is speaking to you. And the more I think we do things like body scans and we understand that mind-body connection, the more we can kind of like respond to our hunger drive. It is intended to keep you alive on this planet, in this body, for as long as humanly possible. In other words, hunger is your friend. It is essential to life and therefore good. If you are to achieve ideal weight and health, you must change the kinds of foods you use to satisfy your hunger. If you are on a weight loss journey, you must change the kinds of foods you use to satisfy your hunger. We're going to satisfy that hunger, i.e., there is no going hungry. Oftentimes when we go on a diet, part of that pain is also feeling hunger and resisting that temptation to eat that juicy cheeseburger or that donut or whatever it is that is tempting us. At that point, when we're hungry, almost everything is going to look amazing and everything is going to be a temptation. So that is no long-term strategy or even short-term. I don't want to live a day like that of managing our weight, managing our health. We have to change the kinds of foods that we eat. So whatever it is that we have been doing up until this point may not be working. If we're on a weight loss journey or we want to maintain our ideal weight or whatever weight we're at right now and not continue to gain at least like 2 to 5 pounds, which most people gain every single year, then we have to change the kinds of foods. I don't think that it means that we have to totally eliminate all of our favorite things that are rich and highly pleasurable and things like donuts. Not entirely. If you have a passion for donuts, and we know that that's not a good thing, we just need to tweak how often we are eating them and enjoying them. But ultimately, changing the kinds of foods, which is why we are here today to learn about this, is the key to feeling great, not just good, feeling great and becoming very healthy in the interim. All right. So he says you can control your weight and do it permanently, but you cannot do it by controlling hunger, i.e., ignoring your hunger drive. Nor can you achieve ideal weight through gimmicky potions, powders, or unbalanced food plans. Potions, powders, unbalanced food plans. Unbalanced, I would say, something like the carnivore diet. When you look into it, a lot of experts, nutritional experts, will say that there are a lot of vitamin and mineral deficiencies in that, and they do not recommend the carnivore diet. I know some people I think it's like Paul Saladino. He would probably love something like that. I've seen photos of him with like all kinds of red meat on his barbecue, and it's like enough to feed a large family. And he's like, this is my dinner and this is what I eat every single day. Like, okay, Paul Saladino. But I also heard recently another health expert who is very concerned about bad pieces of advice like this, dangerous pieces of advice like this. And she was saying that, when people follow this kind of advice from an influencer online, and then they have a freaking heart attack, one night just doing their groceries, then guys like that, they're not held responsible. So this guy is cut, he's got some muscles, and just because he's got some muscles and he may look good to you, that really fools us. So it's time to turn our brains on, be a little more judgmental, and realize that maybe that kind of extreme way of eating is not balanced. The body likes balance, homeostasis, floods of vitamins, minerals, which are micronutrients, as well as our macros, carbs, fat, protein. So in order to lose weight and support your health, you must, 1, satisfy your hunger by eating all you need. Number 2, eat foods that will help you lose weight and encourage health as you eat. This is why I love this program. It's not really about weight loss, even though of course it is. It's much more about getting healthy. Healthy. When properly chosen, food will no longer be your enemy. When you follow the McDougall Program for maximum weight loss, you will eat all you want and meanwhile become thinner and healthier. Thinner, of course, if you have that extra body weight to drop. The foods that give you control over your weight are various starches with the addition of fruits and vegetables. He says this, McDougall will say this so often. Your food is starches with the addition of fruits and vegetables. Starch being the main component of what we eat. And then almost as an afterthought with fruits and vegetables. That's almost like the second, third chair. First chair, starches. And in starches, as Dr. McDougall has taught us, everything grown underground has all of our nutrients. Anything that is grown above ground has almost everything, but it may be deficient in vitamins A and C. That's how he simplifies it all for me. And that teaching, I've sat with that for months when I first learned that, because it just blew my mind. If food is that easy to understand, I wish we could have this plastered on all billboards across the world and bus wraps and subways, because that is so easy to understand then. How do I don't take any multivitamins or supplements. People often ask me that. What supplements do you take? I don't take any. I do take a vitamin B12 every once in a blue moon. And that's really important for me to do. But in terms of other supplements, I just don't, because I'm getting all those vitamins and minerals as well as thousands of other phytonutrients in the food that I eat. Easy, right? The foods that give you control over your weight are various starches. Yes, that I just read that. You must replace your daily fare of meats, dairy products, and desserts with potatoes, corn, rice, beans, squashes, green and yellow vegetables, and fruits. In nutritional terms, this means that all removable fats and oils in your diet must be replaced with carbohydrates. Your hunger drive is satisfied by carbohydrates, not by fat, because carbohydrates are the basic fuel of cellular metabolism. He will go into the science of exactly why carbohydrates are the bomb, why we need it. We need it for cellular metabolism, for energy. Carbohydrates maintain the body and provide energy. This is the other secret of hunger. Your body wants carbohydrates more than any other component of your food. When you look at human physiology, we eat to get energy and to live, right? We need about 500 calories a day minimum. Or if we don't get that, generally, if we don't eat for 30 days, we will perish. So we have to eat to be alive. A lot of people want more energy. We get energy primarily through food. And how does our body actually burn? What does our body burn for energy? Glucose. Glucose. Where does glucose primarily come from? Carbohydrate foods. Okay, and it will urge you to eat and eat and eat until it gets an adequate supply of them being carbohydrates. As you will see in the next chapter, when your body has had sufficient carbohydrates, the hunger drive turns off, saying, I'm good for now. Moreover, a meal plan composed of foods high in carbohydrates is 4 times less concentrated in calories than the typical American diet. So this is something that when people first hear, if I eat potatoes, I will not gain weight, they don't understand that. They can't accept that because for so many years, they just equate potatoes to that's stored as body fat, or sugar turns to fat. We do not understand sugar. We do not understand how carbohydrates interact with our bodies and how glycogen is stored and used within our bodies. And I was like the worst science student. So I didn't learn this in high school or in school. I never paid attention to this stuff. But I mean, that's really hard to refute when you're just looking at the basics of human physiology. Look into it if you don't believe it. Even if you happen to eat more carbohydrate calories than you need, they are burned off as heat or stored invisibly as glycogen, which are chains of sugars stored in the muscles and liver for later use, rather than as fat. So a lot of people, especially like low carb people, will say that when we eat carbs, they will turn into and be stored as body fat. And there is a mechanism that is a name for that mechanism within our bodies. Interestingly, is that possible? Yes, the body is capable of doing that, but that's not the preferred way that it's going to use carbs. It's going to take much more energy for the body to convert that sugar into body fat than it is to take that sugar or that glycogen and store it in our muscles or store it in our liver. Yes, that is a cool thing that John McDougall teaches us. And that's, again, just like physiology. So when people say these like blanket absolute statements as like carbs are stored as body fat, no. That's only partially the truth. It can do that, but most of the time it does not. It only does that under certain circumstances. Most of the time it is stored in muscles or in our liver. And I don't know, I wish we could just like line up like 100 top doctors and just ask every single one of them privately, what would the body prefer to do? If you had to bet $1 million, what's going to happen when I eat these carbs? Is it going to turn into body fat, or is it going to go and any excess is going to be stored in my muscles or in liver? What do you bet on? It'd be very interesting to see. I think we already know the answer to that. Rich foods must become special again, reserved for festive occasions. Yes. And on that note, tomorrow, I'm going to dive into the rules a little bit more, because the more we dive into a few of the nuances, the more these rules are going to make sense and they're going to be made very practical, which is key. It's key to make this practical. But tomorrow, speaking of festivities, tomorrow I'm going to go over how I am going to personally apply these rules to my festivities in the month of December, because I think just hearing those examples is going to give you possibly some good ideas as to how you may manage it for yourself. All right. Okay. So on page, what page is this? 59, we get into the actual maximum weight loss program. And he says that on the cover, he claims that you could lose up to 15 pounds a month, but he's also included examples in here of some of his patients who were obese and they had a long journey to go and they lost more than 15 pounds a month. So sometimes and many times you'll see the more we have to lose, the faster we lose it and the more we lose in a given span of time. So if we were to go on like a 10-day, maximum weight loss challenge, and you have 100 pounds to lose and I have 10 pounds to lose, you're probably going to lose a lot more in those 10 pounds than me, generally speaking. Anyway, so he says, but there are, of course, caveats. If you want to lose that much and you have a substantial amount of weight, and he says that that is 30 pounds or more. He's also said that whether you've been diagnosed or not, if you have 30 pounds of extra body weight to lose, you do have type 2 diabetes, whether you've been diagnosed or not. And what that means is you have a metabolic issue, right? A challenge. And ultimately, there's too much fat stored in our fat cells, and that does not allow insulin to unlock and allow the glucose and the sugar, the energy, to enter into those cells. And therefore, that energy just stays in the bloodstream. And that's why our blood sugars might seem really, really high, regardless of what you eat, especially carbs. But typically that glycogen and that sugar is going to go into the cells. But if our insulin is not unlocking that cell to allow that energy in, then we have an issue. Okay, so the diet alone causes most people to lose weight until they've reached a weight close to their ideal, at which time their bodies naturally achieve an equilibrium. That is an important word, equilibrium, homeostasis, balance, all good things that the human body naturally always moves towards. So at which time their bodies naturally achieve an equilibrium between the calories they take in and those they expend. So after reaching the ultimate weight or whatever, we almost set like a new set point, a new foundation. Especially women, I think, like our weight kind of fluctuates, especially during certain times of the month and etc. But there's always like that baseline weight that we have, whether we go up and down 5-10 pounds, sometimes probably not 10 pounds, more like 3 to 5 pounds. But when we reach a different set point, our body is just like working better. Our metabolism is working better. Everything is functioning better. Our gut health is stronger. Our immunity is stronger. Everything is stronger, working more in a way that it does in its natural state. And in our natural state, I believe our natural state is pretty much perfect. So when we reach our optimal weight, everything just starts to work better. All of our systems, our bodily innate systems. Okay, the second qualifier is this. You must follow the diet faithfully to lose weight. Halfway measures do not work well because they usually involve cheating with high-fat, low-fiber foods, which he's shown will contribute to weight gain. So how strict do you have to be? This is more of a psychological thing, which we'll get into on another day because that's a really hot topic and one of my favorites. So as long as you need to lose weight and follow the program, carefully, you will lose weight effortlessly. The diet will do this by itself. What a bold statement. I love it. He's very confident. Confident because he's taken thousands of patients through this for over 50 years. Yeah. And not only is he a scientist who is obsessed with the scientific research and like reads scientific journeys like for fun, he is firsthand seeing this in all of his patients. All right. So in his rules, number 1 is eliminate all animal foods. And this means fish. A lot of people are like, Jamie, are you serious? Like even fish? Like that's not really meat, right? In this world, yes, it is meat. So no meat, no poultry, no chicken, but chicken's low fat. Go into Chronometer and type in like 2 cups of chicken breast, something that we all think is very low fat and healthy, compared to 2 cups of potatoes. Not deep fried French fries, just potatoes. Look at the fat content. You will be shocked. And it will be an enlightening experience. So no poultry, no fish, no seafood of any kind, no eggs, no milk, no butter, cheese, yogurt, or sour cream. Now, when he says eliminate all animal foods, John McDougall is a strict vegan. He's also a very strong environmentalist. So these are all things that will not be as healthy for the environment as, potatoes are, for instance, or plants. But I will say, if you want to just keep vegan, if that's the goal, from a sour cream perspective, there are a lot of vegan products. And if you must have sour cream, but you want it to be vegan and you don't want it to have saturated fat, which it will if it's coming from an animal, then the best brand is Kite Hill. Kite Hill. What I love about Kite Hill is some of the products have zero oil, but they are made with nuts. So is it a more higher in calorie density food? Yes. But is it healthier? 1000%. There's no saturated fat. There's zero cholesterol. There's like good minerals and stuff. It's a processed product. But if you got to have sour cream, you got to have sour cream. There's a company called Forager, and they also have a sour cream, but they put like coconuts in it and it tastes like coconuts, which I don't want to taste coconut in my sour cream. He also says no yogurt, but there are so many delicious yogurts now on the market that are plant-based or vegan. Again, zero saturated fat or very minuscule really, or zero cholesterol, or I should say, and zero cholesterol. My favorite yogurt that's vegan or plant-based is Kite Hill by far, but I also love Forager's yogurts. They're so delicious. I think there's also a brand called So Delicious, and they're really good too. So lots of great yogurt. I would just look at the ingredients, and if it has coconut in it, try to look for something else, because coconut is an interesting plant that does have high saturated fat. Okay, when it comes to cheese, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, there's really like no healthy cheese on the market right now, unless it's like 100% like nut-based. But when we're talking about maximum weight loss, that's something that we are going to minimize or remove. Butter, again, it's like all high fat. My favorite vegan butter is Miyoko's cultured butter. It is amazing. And when it's on sale, I do tend to stock up on it a little bit, especially around the holidays, because I know I'm going to like make some yummy things, but that's something that I have stopped eating on a regular basis, and it helps. This stuff helps. Okay. These foods are extremely high in fat. So no animals. That's the first rule. Number 2 rule is eliminate all oils. People are always shocked, like, but olive oil is so healthy for us. It helps our cardiovascular health and all the rest. Okay, this is a hot topic. You can look at all of the studies. Very credible people, even in the plant-based space, will say that olive oil can be healthy. They don't care whether you eat it or not from a health perspective. Eat it if you want, but the studies will compare it to eating butter. And that's where I think this man, when he's like, no, don't do the oils. Don't do the oils, because he is teaching us the optimal diet. And if we want fast results, and we're talking maximum weight loss, we're looking for fast results, then we're going to stay away from that. Ultimately, when it comes to cardiovascular health, if I eat something super rich and I see just how I'm feeling, I can sometimes feel that tightness in my chest. And that is my cardiovascular health speaking to me, my cardiovascular system, I should say. It's speaking to me. And so depending on what I just ate, I know for me, I don't need any studies to tell me this, but I know for me, my body is saying, no bueno, Jamie. So just take note of that. But if you eat some, as John McDougall calls it, pure liquid fat in terms of oil, and you feel okay, then maybe it's not such a bad thing. I don't know. I know he would totally disagree with that. Number 3, eliminate all high-fat plant foods. This is what trips vegan people up, because they're like, I'm so healthy, I'm vegan, and I eat vegan food. But why am I so unhealthy? Why do I have to keep going to see my doctor? And why have all these new issues come up? Because maybe we're probably eating more processed foods like the mock meats, the dairy, the cheeses, the fake eggs. Oh yeah, there's eggs too. There's just eggs, and it's made with mung beans. And when you think that, you think, sounds so healthy, but it's an isolated product. So they're isolating the protein from the mung bean, and they're putting it into the just eggs. As a product, I think it's a great product. It works so well. You can make scrambled eggs. They look exactly the same. The mouthfeel is nice and all the rest, especially when you add in some black salt, which we call the fart salt, because it smells just like real eggs. But it's an isolated plant protein, and that is not going to be ideal for our health. All right, so eliminate all high-fat plant foods. These are things like nuts, including nut butters, so peanut butter, almond butter, things like tahini, um, seeds, seed spreads like tahini, avocados, olives, coconut, and like things like tofu, which he literally says, which is 54% fat. Now, I have experimented this eating tofu because I love tofu. And if I am moving my body, not doing anything crazy, but just like literally like just standing while I'm working as opposed to sitting, or going on like a daily walk, and I do eat tofu, just a little bit, nothing deep fried, then I will maintain my weight. I will not put on weight. Will I lose weight? I can lose weight only if I'm super physically active. So yeah, even with a product that's 54% fat, I can work with that, but that's me and that's my metabolism. Blah, blah, blah. Other things are things like popcorn. So popcorn is cool because it's a whole plant. It's the whole corn kernel that's been popped. So it's a whole plant. It's my favorite like healthy snack. But on the calorie density scale, because it's popped, it's had its like water, I guess, removed from it, or there is no water. We haven't cooked it and added water to it. It becomes a higher calorie dense food and will definitely help you pack on the pounds. Things like crackers. There's a brand called Mary's Gone Crackers. Beautiful seed crackers. They're so tasty, pricey, but I think worth it. But even if it's a healthy cracker, because it is a cracker, again, water's been stripped out of it, higher in calorie density. It's also crunchy and salty. We're going to eat more of it. So the psychology of that comes into play, and it's going to help us pack on the pounds. Puffed cereals and dried fruit. So all of those things, although they can be healthy, again, higher in calorie density, the more calories in that tiny little bit of food, it's going to help us trap the fat and hold on to that body weight and not release it, or it's going to add to it. Number 4, eliminate all flour products. Boo-hoo! That's breads, pastas, bagels, pretzels, crackers, corn, wheat, tortillas. So sad, only because I love bread. But if you're going to consider going on this and like listening to some of these rules, maybe that's something that you can just enjoy on the weekends. You know, and that's an easy way of just saying like, I'm going to instead of saying like, I'm going to minimize my bread. You want to like be objective about that. When we just willy-nilly say, I'm going to minimize my bread, are you really minimizing it? Are you keeping track of it? If you keep track of everything you eat, then I believe you, because then you can objectively see what you ate. But I find just like a general rule, because like who wants to track all their food? A general rule is just like, just say to yourself, no bread products during the week. And then if I splurge, I'm going to do that on the weekends. And then that way, you kind of know how much bread you're eating, right? Number 5, eat whole grains and potatoes or sweet potatoes, any kind of potatoes. Some people will say, when I eat potatoes, aren't you supposed to like cook them and then store them in the fridge overnight and then eat them because it's supposed to make them healthy that way? No, potatoes are healthy, just end of story, great for us. But when we do store them in the fridge, apparently the resistant starch factor increases. And the resistant starch is excellent for our gut health and imperative for our gut health. So that's a cool trick. Recently, I made some food and I wanted to really concentrate on the nourishment for the people that I was making that for. And so that is what I did. I made some mashed potatoes. I threw them in the fridge and then I gave it to them the next day for more resistant starch factor. So whole grains are also things like rice, but it's got to be brown rice or whole grain rice. So there's also like black rice, which I believe is a seed, but that richness in color, lots of polyphenols, good stuff for us, good stuff for brain health too. Number 6, eat legumes, beans, peas, and lentils. These can also be blended, i.e. hummus, yum. So hummus normally has tons of olive oil, makes it rich and delicious and creamy, yum. And I'm telling you, I love all that stuff. I have a very keen palate and love food, but I have in many times tried to make hummus with no oil, and guess what? It's still beautiful and it's still creamy. You just got to like blend it a little longer in your food processor, and it's so beautiful. Pinch of salt to really like bring out that flavor of the chickpeas, and it is so good. Normally there's a little bit of tahini. If you are following these rules real closely, then you're going to eliminate the tahini, and it's still really good because sometimes I'm super lazy and I will literally just do a can of rinsed chickpeas, a little bit of salt, and that's it. So good. Number 7, make green and yellow vegetables, i.e. non-starchy vegetables, or just like all vegetables. When we think of vegetables, we just think like vegetables, right? Like zucchini and broccoli and corn and kale and all that stuff. Those are vegetables. Either 1/3 of your plate or half of your plate. So if you're eating this way and you're like, oh, I can just eat potatoes. I saw this like video on YouTube, and the chick was like following this kind of way of eating, and all she ate were potatoes, and that was it. And she's like, I'm doing this challenge. I don't know why I didn't lose any weight. She had a whole bunch of like potatoes that she chopped up to make fries, like home fries. They looked great, and she had so much ketchup. It looked delicious, lots of salt, but she didn't lose weight. Well, this is a critical piece to the pie, is we have to include non-starchy vegetables too. So had she included some vegetables, then she would have probably dropped some weight. Number 8, eat uncooked foods or raw foods every single day, at least once a day. Now, he'll say like regular consumption of raw vegetables will cause you to lose weight faster. Carrots, celery, broccoli, cauliflower, zucchini, snow peas, bell peppers. Eat your 2 fruits a day uncooked. That's an easy thing to do. Dr. McDougall will say that if you are following these rules and your raw food intake is fruit, then that is sufficient. In my experience, that has not allowed my body to release more weight. I can't just rely on fruit to be my raw thing that I eat every day. I have to eat like a raw, like carrots or cucumbers. That's typically my go-to because it's just easy to eat and crunchy. I like crunchy. But I have to eat that kind of like veg in order to see my weight go down day over day. Number 9, restrict fresh fruit to no more than 2 servings a day, and avoid dried fruit puree, and fruit juice. We've already gone through that. Number 10, use simple sugar sparingly. So the McDougall team is not anti-sugar, and they are not anti-salt. Probably they're just not. I was going to say if you have super high blood pressure, maybe they'll say don't eat salt, but I think John McDougall has a different take on that. But they are not anti-sugar, anti-salt. Not in extreme amounts, of course. Like don't eat cups of sugar, obviously, but they say that their whole thing is for instance, 1 teaspoon of sugar contains only 16 calories of carbohydrate. Eliminating these few calories from your diet will make little or no difference in your weight, but a teaspoon of sugar may determine whether or not you eat your oatmeal. So a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, right? So that's that whole concept. A little bit of sugar is okay, especially if it makes your healthy food more enjoyable and something that you're actually going to look forward to. And eventually you do start looking forward to eating things like oatmeal. I was never an oatmeal fan. Don't like the texture, don't like the look of it. It tastes like nothing, like not all of that stuff. But then, of course, after spending so much time in the McDougall world, I started to eat oatmeal, and now I love it. Go figure. And I do add brown sugar. I have like a bottle of brown sugar right there in our oatmeal station, and I've got oats in there all the time that we pop into smoothies or we just make on the stovetop. You can even just microwave it, and I always add a little bit of sugar. So I love that they are not anti-sugar. Is it a health food? Of course not. Is it going to kill us in this small quantity or dose? No, it is not. Okay, but he says that when foods have both sugar and fat, that is the quickest way to gain weight. So we're talking donuts, right? The fat is coming from the oil because they're deep fried. And then, of course, it's laden with tons of sugar, plus icing sugar and all the rest. Things like cupcakes, tons of butter or oil or both, plus the sugar, plus that icing. Woo! So much. Cookies, again, the butter and or the oil, plus the sugar and all the seasonings and all that deliciousness. But it's that kind of food, the fat and the sugar combined, that is going to help us pack on the pounds faster. So if you have been pounding that back and you've wondered, why have I gained all this weight? Maybe you have not been sweating up a storm on a regular basis and releasing those calories. Also helpful because when we move our bodies, we're also moving our gut and our intestines, and that's kind of like activating them to help us go poo-poo and just make everything work nicer. But yeah, things like cakes, ice cream, donuts, chocolate, candies, all these things. And so it is going to, the net effect is dramatically increased fat storage. Yeah, I know. Sad, right? Sad. Anyway, I'm going to add in a number 11. He only has 10, but number 11 is move at least 30 minutes a day. And so when you look at their website, and other things from not only John McDougall, but Jeff Novick, who is their registered dietitian and nutritionist. And Jeff Novick is the bomb. They will all say, move at least 30 minutes a day. This is like such practical advice, I know, and just such a practical overview when it comes to things like move 30 minutes a day. But even though it's practical and it's so basic and we've heard it so often, the reality is, like, how often do we actually practice that? How often, like, is that part of our daily habit, moving 30 minutes a day? And I don't mean just like a gentle stroll. I guess it depends on where you're at. But if you are capable of moving your body and actually working out, then really try to get a sweat on, like do a power walk, not just a stroll, power walk. Got to get that sweat on. That's what I think. So, okay. Those are the rules at a deeper level. I hope that was helpful. And on a side note, the McDougall program or the McDougall team, if you go on their website, drmcdougall.com, again, not sponsored, they are having I think 25% off sale right now for their annual holiday sale. And so they have a mini course all about the Maximum Weight Loss Program, where there are videos and probably downloads and meal plans and all the rest. And if you have a specific question, for as long as this mini course is available, which is probably going to be decades long, you can pop in there and ask that question, and it's always answered. Your questions are always answered. So you're getting direct access to that team. That, I think, is one of the greatest value points of purchasing any of their products, any of their digital products. But I have seen firsthand that every single thing gets answered. It gets answered pretty immediately. And there's just such a wealth of information on drmcdougall.com. I'm just here to offer a summary and my take on it. So there we go. Tomorrow, I'm going to take you through these rules and how I'm going to personally apply them to maintain my weight or even lower it over this Christmas holiday season. Yeah. And so that's going to be fun. Hopefully that's going to give you ideas on how to manage the holidays. And I fully intend on imbibing and celebrating with as many friends as I can connect with. I am so looking forward to it. We love Christmas time. And on that note, yeah, have a great day. And we'll see you next time.